The Jews that could only guarantee the survival of people through the creation of their own independent state.
And the only way you had to achieve that goal was by expropriating Arab land?
It wasn't Arab land.
And whose land was it?
Well, the land was under the control of the British, who then relinquished their mandate to the United Nations, which then voted to partition Palestine into two separate states.
Yes, but who lived there?
Jews and Arabs.
Yes, but the Jews were latecomers and constituted a small minority of the total population. We Arabs were already living there. And instead of wanting to arrive at some kind of agreement with us over the issue of control of the land, the Jews unilaterally decided that they would create a Jewish state.
That's right. We wanted to create a Jewish state. Would you have allowed us to live and thrive in a Palestinian state?
Absolutely.
Oh, no way. You hate us. That's why the Jews needed their own state. You did not want to coexist with us.
We would have coexisted with the Jews, but the Jews wanted to create their own state at the expense of the Arabs. Under those circumstances, coexistence was out of the question.
That's not fair. The Arab world comprises over 22 countries and over 200 million people. Given the immensity of your countries and the size of your population, why can't the Arabs tolerate the idea of the Jews having a nation of their own?
Because Palestine was supposed to be an Arab state, not a Jewish one. And if the Arabs consent to the West over the issues of Palestine, then the entire Arab world will be reduced to little more than a bunch of colonies to be mercilessly exploited by the West for commercial gain.
So if you're afraid that if Israel is allowed to exist, then the West will eventually impose its control over the entire Arab world, huh?
That's right, that's what will happen.
You're wrong. For much of our history, you never had control of your lands. For hundreds of years, you were under the domination of the Ottoman Turks. Then after World War I, the French and the British had control of the region. Now, there are 22 independent Arab states. To believe that the Jews would pose some kind of threat upon you, it's ridiculous. We just want to live in peace.
It's easy for you to say. The facts are that in Palestine, we lived on the land, worked on the land, and comprised the vast majority of the inhabitants of the land. So it was an Arab state which should have become an independent Palestinian state.
But the Arabs did get their own state.
Through a contrived partition, which was arbitrarily determined by the British without the consent of the Arabs.
But which was decided upon the consent of the Jewish people.
Who were late arrivals and who had no legitimate claim to the land.
We did have legitimate claim to the land. Why can't you accept it?
Because it's not true. We were there first. It was our land.
No way. It was under Turkish and then British control. In fact, almost every control in the world, every country in the world recognizes the state of Israel, including Egypt and Jordan.
That still does not mitigate the situation of the Palestinian Arabs, who have no country of their own.
Well, you know, maybe if the Palestinian Arabs stopped tossing bombs at us, then something could be worked out.
Well, what can be worked out? We want our land back.
Do you accept the right of the Jewish people to have their own state?
Sure, we do, but not on our land.
It is not your land.
It is our land.
You must accept the reality of the existence of the Jewish state.
Says you. Without the backing of the United States, Israel would cease to exist.
And if the Arabs would stop attacking the Jews, then maybe we could finally coexist.
So why should the Arabs accept the presence of a Jewish state?
Because peace is better than war, which just produces suffering.
We want peace too.
Well, terrorism and fanaticism are not the way to achieve that goal.
The Arabs deplore terrorism too, but we understand how our young people can resort to such extreme measures.
I don't understand that. Suicide bombings, targeting innocent civilians, trumpeting terrorists as heroes and martyrs. To me, it seems that most Arabs condone these terrorist acts. Who can forget the image of the Palestinians screaming with joy after the attack of the World Trade Center?
Well, the Palestinians had nothing to do with that. That was a tragic event.
Well, they're celebrating on TV, what's for the whole world to see.
But many Other Arabs expressed their condolences for the losses suffered by the American people.
Yet many Arabs still call the U.S. the Great Satan and openly avow to drive the Jews into the sea.
And many Jews still refuse to recognize the right of the Palestinians to have their own independent state.
Untrue! Israel does not oppose the creation of a Palestinian state. But she doesn't want a Palestinian state that is intent on destroying the state
No,
of
in
Israel.
1993, Yasser Arafat said that the PLO recognized the right of Israel to exist.
Then why are the Arab terrorists still attacking the state of Israel?
Because the Jews still occupy lands in Palestinian territory.
But we need to maintain settlements for our self-defense.
The Israelis still do not trust the Palestinians.
How can we? When your people keep on preaching hatred and subject us to terrorist attacks.
You know, if Israel were not so bullheaded, we would not have to resort to violence.
And if the Palestinians were not such two-faced frauds and so full of hatred, we would be better off to trust you and your words.
So what more do the Jews want from us, huh? We acknowledge the right of Israel to exist.
So then, let Israel exist in peace and stop your attacks on
And
us.
stop your occupation of the West
Then
Bank.
stop the suicide
Bring
bombers.
the martyrs to a free and independent Palestinian state.
How can you call those maniacs martyrs?
They are martyrs. They're soldiers who are willing to die for a cause.
Soldiers? No way. They're vicious murderers.
To us, they're soldiers.
Can you condone their method?
Some consider terror as to others legitimate means of defense.
Are you saying that blowing oneself up for the purpose of killing innocent civilians is justifiable?
Under certain circumstances.
Oh, that's outrageous!
So why are you so outraged? During World War II, your American and British friends dropped millions of tons of bombs on Germany, killing hundreds of thousands of innocent civilians.
Yes, that happened, but while the Germans were being bombed, they knew exactly who was bombing them, why they were being bombed, and in addition, we were trying to stop a terrorist regime that had started the war and was committing genocide.
So are you suggesting that in World War II, the mass killing of civilians was acceptable, but while now it's not?
Oh, I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that Nazi Germany was a terrorist regime and a menace to world peace that had to be stopped at all costs. While Israel is a small country that wishes to live in peace with its neighbors.
Meanwhile, Israel is employing the same tactics against the Palestinian Arabs.
Oh, you mean that we're indiscriminately targeting innocent civilians?
That's right. Happened in Lebanon. Happens every time Israel has conducted an incursion into Palestinian camps.
Oh, what you're referring to is our self-defense operations to root out and arrest terrorists.
You mean self-offense operations designed to terrorize the Palestinian people and keep the Palestinians down.
Not so. We're just trying to defend ourselves. Israel has a right to secure borders.
And Palestine has the right to have its own state. But Israel continues to block our national aspirations. Even the United States favors the creation of a Palestinian state.
But the U.S. insists on a Palestine state whose leadership acknowledges once and for all that Israel has a right to exist and renounces the use of terror.
What are you talking about? Israel has to withdraw from Palestinian lands.
Well, we'll withdraw only when the Palestinian leadership is committed to peace.
It is this Israeli stubbornness that is causing this conflict.
Now that is garbage. The conflict is continuing because the Palestinian leadership still wants to destroy the state of Israel.
And Israel still wants to oppress the Palestinian
And the
people.
Palestinian people still want to destroy the Jews.
No, we don't. We have no argument with the Jews, who are our Semitic brothers. Our argument is that your government refuses to abide by agreements allowing for the creation of a Palestinian state.
In Israel, in Oslo, Israel offered to withdraw from 97% of the West Bank and to relinquish control of the Gaza Strip. The response to the Palestinian leadership was to leave the negotiating table and renew the fighting.
Israel was intent on continuing a policy that was unacceptable to the Palestinian people, so there was no more reason to
But
negotiate.
before the 1967 war, the Palestinians occupied the West Bank. So why did the Palestinians found a state then?
Because we were still fighting to regain control of our entire country.
You mean the state of Israel?
That is correct. The state forced upon the entire Arab world in 1948.
And after 4 wars and countless acts of terrorism, you still haven't given up the fight.
That's right.
Given this ongoing hostility toward Israel, why should the Arabs believe that the Arabs have given up the wish to destroy the state of Israel?
We have. But maybe, if Israel will demonstrate a change in attitude, such as acknowledging the legitimacy of our grievances, we will give up that goal.
Yes, you have grievances, but we have grievances too. You Palestinians claim that you are victims, but it is the Jews who are the victims of discrimination, of hatred, of bigotry, of genocide, and we will not let that happen again.
Can't take it anymore! The verbal poo coming out from the both of you is just almost too much to bear. You've tried to jump Mohammed's wife. But what did Mohammed do to you?
I never did any of
Why the
that.
heck you didn't, you lying bastard? You're nothing but a marauder. Hey, if you want, I'll get you a nice, tasty, fresh bagel with a nice hot hole. Maybe that will do it for you.
That's telling me, Mohammed. But you're not exactly Mr. Good Two Shoes either, are you?
What do you mean?
What I mean is a certain incident in 1947 involved you two guys.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I do. I remember.
That's right. Moshe. The old memory bank is paying some interest.
In 1947, I had just arrived in Israel, and one night was walking home after work when 3 men attacked me and beat me and robbed me and then ran away. It was awful. They were speaking Arabic and laughing like the whole thing was one big joke.
What does that have to do with me?
Everything. You were the guy who mugged me.
I did no such thing.
Oh yes, it was you. The same voice.
Oh, come on, that's
I'm
ridiculous.
certain it was you.
I don't care how certain you are, it wasn't me.
You lying piece of filth. It was you. Back then, there was a whole rash of break-ins and muggings, all involving a gang of Arabs who were preying on newly arrived Jews. And you were a member of that gang.
Well, maybe I was. That doesn't mean I was the one who attacked you.
So, there was more than one gang
Yeah, maybe there was.
who targeted Jews like the Nazis did in Europe?
Your people had no business moving in.
Oh, that means I deserve to be beaten up? I was to blame for my own victimization?
Those are your words, not mine.
Don't be coy with me, you stupid shit. I had to shove my fist down your throat now. How would you like that?
Tough talk coming from a twerp like you.
That's telling me, Mohammed.
You mean the twerp who you imagine did your wife?
Touche, Moshe.
Now you're treating us the same way that you have been treated. That is wrong. The Palestinian people never mistreated the Jewish people.
Oh, but you would mistreat them if you could. The Palestinians don't want to coexist with the Jews. They want to destroy the Jewish state and drive them out of the region. Your hatred of us is boundless.
We did not start this fight. We did not ask the Jews to come to Palestine. We did not ask the British to partition our land. We did not ask the United Nations to vote into existence the state of Israel. We did not ask Israel to occupy the West Bank.
And the Jews did not ask to be systematically murdered. And the Jews did not ask to be expelled from their own country 2,000 years ago. And the Jews did not ask to be the target for every bigot, crackpot, and religious fanatic with an axe to
And
grind.
the Palestinians did not ask the Jews to take over Arab land.
Arab land? No, Israeli land, Jewish land.
Look, we're back to square one. Just a waste of time.
Do you think negotiations are useless?
Not useless, just fruitless. Because Israel will not negotiate in good faith.
Won't negotiate in good faith? Well, what do you expect from us when we're constantly attacked by suicide bombers? Is that supposed to encourage us to negotiate? It seems that your side does not want to negotiate.
do want to negotiate. We talked in Washington. We talked in Oslo. We've brought our case before the United Nations. We have appealed to the world for justice, and what has been the result? Nothing. Israel's still blocking the creation of an independent Palestinian state. I mean, for a while, we thought there was actually a chance of arriving at an agreement with Rabin, but when Rabin was assassinated, we really began losing hope.
Assassination was a tragedy.
It was more than a tragedy. It called into question Israel's willingness to abide by the terms of the Camp David Accord, in which both the PLO and the Israeli government accepted each other's right to exist.
We were and still are committed to abide by the terms of the Camp David Accord. However, we do question the willingness of the Palestinians to abide.
You have no grounds for feeling that way.
Yes, we do. Look what happened after Israel gained control of Gaza and the West Bank. Instead of peace, Israel became a target for terror attacks, and the PLO did nothing to stop that.
That's because Israel refused to give up control of the land. We conceded that Israel has a right to exist. What more do you want?
Assurances that the Palestinians will stop attacking the state of Israel.
We gave you those assurances. Apparently you don't want to believe us, which causes us to question whether Israel wants to negotiate in good faith.
Oh, your assurances are a step in the right direction. But the open hostility of the PLO and other Palestinian organizations toward Israel causes us to question whether you are really negotiating in good faith.
Look, what do we gain by negotiating in bad faith, huh?
Time to build up your forces to attack Israel again.
So you believe that while we're talking, we're preparing to fight?
That's right. Aren't you fighting us now?
Yes, we are, because we're trying to enforce the terms of an agreement that you are refusing to abide by. Besides, if you don't trust us, what's the point of negotiating with us in the first place?
To achieve peace. But we're at a disadvantage. Israel is a small country surrounded by many Arab countries. So we have to be extra careful, especially considering your real intentions. And we don't want to make concessions that would bring about our own destruction.
Anyone is at a disadvantage in this conflict. It's the Palestinians. Not only do the Israelis have the unqualified support of the United States, they have their own government, their own military. They have the power to enter our homes at any time.
That's right. Within the state of Israel.
Even the West Bank?
Even in the West Bank.
That is Palestinian territory.
There is no Palestinian state. So how can it be Palestinian
Do not
territory?
taunt me! You know that the West Bank is under Palestinian control.
No, that is not the case. Palestinians who live in that region have been granted a certain level of local autonomy, but the entire region is under Israeli control.
It's this kind of arrogance that provokes us to commit desperate acts.
The more you try to fight us, the worse you make it yourselves. Furthermore, I'm not being arrogant, I'm just telling you the truth. That you do not want to accept.
And the struggle must continue.
Struggle for what?
For our liberation.
But the more you keep fighting us, the worse you make it for your people.
We're not making things worse for our own people. Israel's to blame. With your brutal incursions into our homes. Maybe if you stop these incursions and return to the bargaining table, then you could gain peace and security that you say you want.
We cannot negotiate with terrorists. And we have to respond when we're attacked.
But you're being attacked because the Israelis will not leave the area that they said they would leave.
And that's because the Palestinians still hate us. And so we have to maintain a presence amongst you as a defensive measure to prevent the possibility of further
The
attacks.
Palestinians are willing to live in peaceful coexistence with the Jewish state, but is the Jewish state willing to treat us with the respect that we deserve?
We respect the Palestinians. The main obstacle to peace is not Israel's attack or attitude toward the Palestinian people. Rather, it's your continued hostility to us.
Hostility towards you. In 1993, at the Camp David Accord, Palestinians gave flowers to Israeli soldiers and shouted, "Shalom!" We were happy and jubilant and we wanted to share our joy with the Israeli people.
Well, that attitude certainly has changed. Now you're sending suicide bombers and screaming for our blood.
Because you continue to ignore and disparage our legitimate demands.
So that gives you cause to resort to acts of terror?
And we tried negotiations and they failed. So what do you expect us to do? We fight with the means available to us.
Which includes suicide bombers.
If need be.
Oh, you know it's a tactic that will not succeed.
Oh, it's already succeeding. You don't know when or where the next attack will occur.
You're wrong. We would search out and punish all who protect or support those maniacs.
Such talk.